1-800-449-8255. You're on the beautiful, amazing, unbelievably gifted Clark the Shark Show, you guys. Good morning. It's Tuesday, 9 a.m. And usually I don't get up till like 5 p.m. I remember Kirk Hammett, when he first joined Metallica, these guys were just getting up. It was like 6 o'clock p.m., like dinner time. And I'm like, well, that's me, Clark the Shark, 1-800-449-8255, the fabulous Clark the Shark Show. But I'm trying to turn it around. And, sometimes I just go cold turkey and I just stay up all day. And then I go to sleep at like 5 o'clock p.m., dinner time. And then I wake up at 4 in the morning and I'm like, oh, look at Sharky. There's going to be a daytime today. But there's just one topic today, you guys. Today's topic on the fabulous Clark the Shark Show. Liberal people are unhappy, miserable. I just wrote this down. Number 1, 2, liberals, atheists, etc., started and perpetuated slavery, etc., propagated, furthered, if you will. Now me, Clark the Shark, I don't consider myself the world's most happy, God-fearing, religious guy, but I do believe in God, you guys. I know there's a God just from looking at DNA and molecules, cells, all the things happening in a little tiny cell. There's a little universe, you guys, going on inside a little itsy bitsy tiny cell. But liberals are like, no, Sharky, the cell just made itself, and all the quarks and atoms and black matter and everything here, Sharky, all the solid matter, it just made itself. It evolved like the mighty iguana, and it grew horns and spines and armor, armor plates, so that it could survive. Natural selection, Sharky. And I'm like, well, evolution, natural selection, all that might or might not be real. But if it is real, which I doubt, but let's say it really happened, then God did it, And people are like, well, Shark, but the Bible doesn't say that. I'm like, dude, the Bible is speaking figuratively. It's like, like when you're drunk and you're just babbling and you make perfect sense. That's the Bible, you guys. It's allegorical. It's trying hard 2,000 or 5,000 years ago or whenever it was. Some people were writing it, trying to, get their message across. And people are like, well, Shark, every religion has, like a hero who dies and God sends his son, and I'm like, no, not quite like Christ, you guys. God sending his only son. And I've had my problems, with religion and the Catholic faith and Protestants and Christianity all my life. I mean, even when I was a little kid, when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, I knew it was a bunch of BS. I just thought it was nonsense. But who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe it's all real. Maybe it's all the number one thing why we are all here. I don't know. And then that in itself, I'm like, well, God, why would you do that? Why would you make it so this big, important thing, most of the world doesn't even know about it, like all the Muslims and the people in India and Japan and, in Africa, like the bush people living way out in the forest and the bush. Not everyone knows about Christ, and they have no clue who he is. And people are like, no, Sharky, everyone knows. Your conscience knows. And I'm like, yeah, to a degree, I kind of agree with that. Everyone has a conscience. Everyone deep down knows, Christ is king and all that. But who knows? Maybe they just know, the common good is king, but we white people, me, Clark the Shark, and my family from Europe, maybe we interpret it as Christ, God, Christ, I don't know, you guys. I want to believe in God and Christ and the Bible and all that, but I am conflicted. I've had these problems, uh, you know, with it because it doesn't make any sense. Like the Bible's loaded with contradictions, but it's still good to read. I like the allegorical messages, the metaphors that it is trying to get across and portray. And I believe in it to a degree, you guys. I do. But I know that liberal people don't. Uh, so why are liberals unhappy, miserable? I think it's because they don't believe in God, and that's their foundation. And from that point forward, they're in big trouble here on the earth, you guys. But, even the people who do believe in God, they have their own issues and vices and, balls and chains around their ankles and, but it's confusing, you guys. People are just like, well, just believe, Sharky. It's going to be okay. And I don't know, you guys. I know I believe in God. I know there is a God because of DNA, because of solid matter existing in the universe, because of all the science. I follow it. You know how liberals are always saying, follow the science? Well, every time I follow science, it leads me right to there is this big monotheistic God in the universe, or maybe there's many universes, but there's still one God that had to have created all the solid matter, everything, all the atoms, quarks, DNA, cells, wheels within wheels, like Neil Peart from Rush would write about. And I'm sure that Neil Peart was a monotheist. I think he said he was. I'm not sure, but I don't think he believed in Christ or, Jesus or any of that, or Mohammed or, religions. But that's how I kind of am. Clark the Shark. I want to believe in Christianity, because my father, Gary B. Higgins, wrote all these books about it. He was all into it along with my mom, Joanne. But I think they were just into it, because they were just people having sex and having babies, and they were just always rejoicing and happy. They were happy people. They were kind of miserable, but they were happy in some weird, twisted way. They were kind of like liberals. I remember arguing with my parents as a child when I was just 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And just I didn't know anything. I was just some little brat, some little kid, but I detected that my parents were liberals or something, even though they were Catholics who went to church and they seemed conservative. A liberal has nothing to do with conservative versus non-conservative. That isn't what a liberal is. A liberal is like some government, from the government, the union, like the UFCW, the UAW on down. It's something I can't explain or put my finger on what a liberal is. But because liberals are part of a collective, they're not independent people. Liberals and Democrats tend to be part of a group, and they all stick together when there's trouble. Whereas conservatives and Republicans don't really do that. Only right now, recently, are Republicans learning to band together. They haven't really done it in the past, and they don't have a good history of it. And a lot of that has to do with, they're not collectivists. They're independent thinkers. And, to a Republican or a conservative, getting together with other people is like almost a dirty word. They are so independent, and they are such lone wolves that any group of any kind they do not like, even if it's the Republican Party or whatever. They don't like to be under any umbrellas because they're just, they want to cling to that thinking that they are, that pragmatic or whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but liberals and Democrats aren't afraid to put you on trial, throw out all the witnesses. They're not afraid to lie, cheat, steal, do anything to further their liberal cause. And I honestly believe it could be just wired from birth. Like God, it's almost like God made them like that. So it's like I blame God uh, for liberal. I don't even blame the liberals. I blame God for making them. And God's like, well, Shark, don't blame me. You guys have free will down there on Earth. And, dude, I remember little kids when I was just 6, 7, 8 years old at Parkway School. And there were liberal little kids. They didn't even know, like, there's no way they could have known about Republican or politics or liberal or Democrat. They were already liberal, dude. You can only blame their parents or their older brother or sister or uncle so much. I mean, a lot of this just seems baked in, like wired in from birth. Like me, Clark the Shark, I've always been like a conservative or Republican or whatever you want to call it, like a pragmatic. I was always an introvert, like alone. Sometimes if you give me a few beers, I'll flip out and turn into a Leo or something. But, I'm a Taurus from birth, and that's how I am. I just, stay all alone in my room, listening to Frank Zappa or The Who, or, like, don't come near Sharky. If you do, I'll throw a can of mace at you or something, or, it don't matter who you are. Stay out of the Sharky territory at 1-800-449-8255. But I was always kind of happy because at the end of it all, I know there's a God. Now, liberals at the end of it all are unhappy, miserable people because they know there is no God, and now here's where me and liberals kind of agree. Liberals think if there is a God, he's kind of an asshole. And I think that too, to a degree, you guys, because I look at my life and I look at all kinds of lives on the planet Earth. And God's like, yeah, it's tough, Shark. I put all these obstacles and hurdles and pole vaults and things for you humans you got to do to, to get into heaven. And then he says, my burden is light. You just pray every day, let people punch you and pick on you and hate you, and everything's going to be okay, Shark. Just take the high road. Keep taking the high road, Sharky. But, people, if you really are a Christian that just prays and, you're all like that, you're not going to have many friends except for other Christians. And then that gets kind of boring, It's kind of like being a liberal, dude. Liberals are always like, they don't believe in any causes, but they know a cause is a way to rile up the mob. And that's liberals' goal, is chaos, mobs, riots, broken windows, feces and shit on the ground, and just anarchy. That's what liberal Democrat people want. And that's, it all goes with their unhappy, miserable demeanor at 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show. And I know you might see some liberals down at Starbucks who are like, I'm happy, Sharky. How are you? Like that. But dude, if you don't really believe in God, if you're pro-choice or pro-gay or or pro-abortion, like you pro-big government, pro-big brother, I mean, how happy can you really be, liberals? I mean, you're just kidding yourselves. And that's why a lot of them commit suicide or they do drugs, and because they're confused, dude. There's like something fucking wrong with them. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying, dude, I'm just saying. And liberals, atheists, etc., started and perpetuated slavery. Like I said, slavery is kind of a chaos. And back in the 1800s and before, until 1865 with Lincoln, the Republican guy, liberals were for slavery. And in some weird, twisted way, they still are to this very day, you guys, with the high rent, where people are paying $4,000 a month to live in a studio, the low wages, or in some cases, just cheap labor and taking advantage of immigrants and, taking advantage of black people or white people without degrees or, Hispanic people. It all walks hand in hand with the atheism of liberals. And in some twisted way, there's some rhinos on the right wing that are like this too, you guys. They like the slavery too, and they tell you, you're a loser, Clark the Shark, if you don't get with the free market and accept, the $4,000 a month rent, the low wages, and it's your fault, Sharky, for not going and getting a college degree, dude. In 1983, when I was 18, I didn't even know anything. I don't want to blame my parents either. They're just, dumb white people like me or something. At 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show. But slavery walks hand in hand with atheism, low wages, high rent, and socialism, you guys. It's all one. To me, neo-Nazis, communists, liberals, Democrats, they're all the same thing, you guys. And the Christian people on the other side of the coin are a little more open-minded. I know in past videos I may have accidentally said liberals are the lesser of two evils, but I'm sorry, you guys, let me clarify. Republicans, conservatives, pragmatics are the lesser of two evils, you guys. Me, Clark the Shark, I consider myself like a Republican, conservative, independent, pragmatic. And so I am not for slavery, low, cheap labor, low wages, high rent. And in some weird way, there are, like Mitt Romney and Trump type people, the people that always tell you, like, Clark the Shark, get with the free market and let it decide, like Hush Bimbo and maybe even Hannity. Well, in some weird, twisted way, right here on the Shark Levin show, it's guys like Mark Levin, Hannity, Hush Bimbo, who tell you that, you're a loser if you don't get with the free market. These guys end up kind of a socialist, along with liberals in some weird, twisted way, you guys. And then you realize on the other side of the coin are people like Clark the Shark that are just like, hey, man, I want to make money. I want to be able to pay my rent and buy groceries, at Vons and Ralph's and Stater Brothers. I wish everyone could make good wages and pay low rent, So some people would call me like a communist. But honestly, I don't think Democrats want to think like me, and I don't think Republicans in general want to think like me. They all like the status quo, baby, just as it is. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. That's right, you guys. Propagated, furthered it, if you will. Slavery is what we got going on in California right now with Gavin Newsom. You got all these people running around on the freeway trying to pay high rent or a bloated high mortgage, working a job that has insufficient wages, or in some cases they make a lot of money. In fact, they make so much money that they pay taxes and pay their rent, and then they have no money left over after all of it. That's right, Gavin Newsom, right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. So you see, people, right here in 2023, we still have slavery, and it's on both sides. I, Clark the Shark, have put forward my propositions and my petitions where I have said in emails and just screamed out loud, we need rent control. We need our rent to be $1,100 a month across the board or something like that. And of course you have people that are like, no, Sharky, if they did that, the whole state would turn into a slum. And I'm all, well, look around you guys. It's overcrowded. There's freeway traffic, people from other countries driving 150 miles an hour everywhere, DUIs, tickets, people living in tents, Skid Row type living, out of control, people outdoors, homeless galore. So I say it's already a slum, you guys, right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharker phone. So I'm like, why are liberal people unhappy, miserable, sad, depressed, often suicidal? Liberals, atheists started and perpetuated slavery. Well, that's why, you guys. It's baked in, it's built in. You could say rhinos like Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney and people like that kind of think like liberals. They call themselves Republicans, but they're not much better than a liberal, you guys. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, and it's really undefined and sort of nondescript exactly what Trump is saying. He cut taxes, and that's cool, and he had a good economy from 2017 to 2021, even though CNN and their fake polls and phony surveys would disagree. But me, Clark the Shark, I don't necessarily love or revere Trump. But what I have always said is he is a hell of a lot better than Joe Biden or Barack Obama. Just like George W. Bush is better than Clinton, you guys, not by much. I mean, they're both globalist pieces of shit as far as I'm concerned. Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255. But I know why liberal people are unhappy and miserable. It's because they don't believe in God, and there is no goal at the end of all this. And I don't really think Liz Cheney or Mitt Romney really, really believe in God either. If they don't agree with me, Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255. Now, I don't want to ban and delete Republicans who don't agree with me, Clark the Shark. In fact, I welcome their point of view. I like many points of light. I like people to disagree with me. Unlike liberals and Democrats who are unhappy, sad, miserable, depressed, they don't want anyone disagreeing with them. And if you do disagree with a liberal or a Democrat, well, they're going to try to make you unhappy, miserable, and sad too. They might try to put you in jail. That'll make them feel better, huh? Or they might kick all the witnesses out of the courtroom and get rid of all the evidence and burn all the books too, baby. Burn, baby, burn, right here on the Clark the Shark Show. 1-800-449-8255. Isn't it true, liberals? At the end of it all, you and Mitt Romney and George Bush and Liz Cheney are all the same thing. Or Clark the Shark is a little better. I'm a little different. It's like apples to oranges. I mean, I may only be slightly happier, or I might be a lot happier, but at least I have my independence, and at least I'm original. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255. That's today's topic. Usually I have 5 or 6 talking points. Today I just got barely 1, 2, and 3 was left empty. I'll let you fill that in. Number 3, Clark the Shark Show. I'm out of here. Peace.